Well, it's time to begin our services. Well, we've got several missing tonight. I don't know. Not sure what's going on. I'm sure everyone that's here tonight knows about this Mary Lady and the loss that this congregation is going to have. But it's a big, big gain for Paradise as of day 4 yesterday. So it's going to be sad, and it's not going to stay the same because she's always been here. But we all have a pretty good idea where she's at now. So and we got to be happy for her. This is something that she's lived all her life for. So yeah. So we'll just have to pick up the slack. And we're going to start with number 127. 127. After this, I'm going to ask Seth to do a listening word of prayer. 127. This is my Father's world, and to my listening ears, all nature sings, and round me rings the music of the spheres. This is my Father's world. I rest me in the thought of rocks and trees, of skies and seas. His hand the wonders wrought. This is my Father's world. The birds their carols raise. The morning light, the lily white, declare their Maker's praise. This is my Father's world. He shines in all that's fair. In the rustling grass I hear him pass. He speaks to me everywhere. This is my Father's world. Oh, let me ne'er forget that though the wrong seems all so strong, God is the ruler yet. This is my Father's world. In battle we must run. Jesus who died shall be satisfied. The kingdom turns back to God. Let's pray.
Our God and Father, we thank you so much for the opportunity to come before you as a congregation of your people. We ask that you please be with us, help us to be one and united in love for each other, and that we look out for each other and help take care of each other and help each other be faithful to you and to get to heaven. We ask you tonight to be with the members of our congregation who are shut in, with Mr. Jerry, with Miss Betty, with Mr. John and the Ruizes. We ask you please watch over them and give them comfort. We ask you please be with Mary Lee's family and all of us who are missing her, and we ask you please give them comfort and strength. We ask you please be with us tonight as we open your word. Help us to gain your truth from it, especially the wisdom as we study the book of Proverbs. We ask you please be with us and help us to only gain what is true, and that we can become more like Jesus through what we study tonight. Dear Lord, help us to, just in our time together in this next hour, help us to be better and help us to grow closer to you and to learn more about what you would have us to do. We thank you so much for the examples of all those who have gone on before us that we can learn from. Those who are faithful, who have gone on to their reward. Dear God, we ask you, please help us to use those people as our examples and to know what it means to follow them as they followed Jesus. We ask you, please watch over us tonight. Help us to focus on our study. And all these things we ask only if it is your will. It's in Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
mark your songbooks at page 331. 331 will be our song invitation after class. Now we'll go to our class.
All right. You have your Proverbs lesson book. We are on lesson number 4 of the Topical Proverbs. This will be the Proverbs on wealth. We got down to, it looks like the 5th one down, Proverbs 20, verse 15. And we're in a section on the disappointment and limitations on wealth. So as we go through tonight, as always, comments are very welcome. Lynn and Jane aren't here to add their comments, so feel free to fire off anything that you can think of as we go through these things and the selection of Proverbs on starting with the disappointment and limitations of wealth. Proverbs 20, verse 15, the ESV says, "There is gold and abundance of costly stones, but the lips of knowledge are a precious jewel." Another translation, CSB, says, "Gold and a multitude of jewels are available, but knowledgeable lips are a rare treasure." So what are some observations you get from Proverbs 20, verse 15?
I think it's interesting because gold and jewels, while a form of currency, were still considered to be rarer than other forms of money. But this is saying that, wisdom still is more important than anything like that. That you can get anywhere. You're not going to find wisdom.
How hard is it to get wealth? Especially in this country. If you really wanted to earn money, how hard is it to earn money in this country if you're willing to work for it?
Not impossible.
It's not that impossible, right? We can work hard and we can gain wealth. How easy is it to find someone who has wealth? Especially compared to what the standard of living for all of human history is abject poverty. Like, what percentage of people in the history of the world had dirt floors? I would assume well over 90%. Like, if you don't have dirt floors at your house, you are richer than the vast majority of people in the history of the world. Right? Beyond that, we have electricity and internet and cell phones and air conditioning and
Indoor
dishwashers and indoor plumbing and all of that. Like, how easy is it to be someone to just point at someone in Walmart and say that person has some wealth? How hard is it to point to someone and say that one has the type of wisdom and knowledge that will help me in life? How rare is that in comparison? Right? This is a better than proverb. It's not saying that having wealth is wrong. The thing is wealth can come and go, but how often can you find someone that can give you, it's not just someone who is knowledgeable. What about them? What body part is listed here? It's their lips. Finding someone with knowledgeable lips. I don't know about you. I don't know that my lips know all that much. What does this mean?
They speak and teach well.
Someone who's willing to share, right? It's more than just someone who knows a lot. You can find people who know a lot but can't share it, or are stingy with it, or are prideful with it.
Well, and if you know a lot and you don't ever speak up about it, then it's worthless knowledge.
Absolutely. That
knowing a lot is not knowledge.
Absolutely. That the CSB here, the other a lot of other translations say, that the lips of knowledge are a precious jewel, that it's not only valuable, but it is rare. It is something that is uncommon. That is defined. Lots of people have money. Money is common. But someone who has the lips of knowledge that you can share, that's rare. So, if you had to choose, would you rather have a room full of money or someone who was willing to tell you the truth and help you get to heaven? And have a real mentor. Which would you rather choose? What would most people in the world choose? We're like, man, I could buy some nice mentors for a room full of money, right? But when you do that, how good of advice are they really giving towards what you're wanting, the ultimate goal of being faithful to the Lord? That this is important, right? So how do you act though? What am I actually working for and searching for? Am I spending more time working towards getting the better job so that I can have more money? Or am I working towards learning wisdom, gaining wisdom, attaching myself to someone who is a good mentor for me? How important is it to have mentors, godly mentors? What are older women commanded to do by Paul when he was writing to Timothy? Teach the younger women to do certain things, right? What were they to teach them? How to bake bread? Do you remember the specifics? What are they supposed to teach? To love their husbands? And I'm trying to take these off. These are just coming off at the top of my head, but to take care of their family, to guide their family. And that is a task for older women to teach the younger women, to be mentors, to train people how to do what they're supposed to do. And older men are supposed to be that way for younger men too. We're supposed to help each other. And I don't care how old you are, there's always someone looking up to you. You can be Judah's age and there'll be someone that's looking up to him, right? So you can be a mentor, you can be a help to anyone. Thank you. All right. Anybody have any other observations on Proverbs 20, verse 15? Here's some other verses that I thought of. Anybody think of any verses that goes along with this? Other cross references. The two that I have mentioned are Proverbs chapter 3, verses 14 and 15 is a parallel proverb. For the gain from wisdom is better than gain from silver, and her profit is better than gold. She is more precious than jewels. Nothing you desire can compare with her. And you remember the first 3 or 4 chapters of the book of Proverbs, so much of it was pointed at wisdom, gain wisdom, seek for wisdom. And they made wisdom to be this woman who was available in the streets crying out. All you have to do is just listen. In Matthew chapter 13, verses 14 and 15, the kingdom of heaven is compared to a pearl of great price. That the man went and sold everything that he had to buy that field so that he could have that one pearl. What does Jesus mean by that? Well, that this is going to be a better investment for him financially? Or what is it that when we're saying the kingdom of heaven is like this?
It's just something that's beyond desire. It's so desirable.
Absolutely. That it is something that you desire so much that you're willing to sell everything else that you have. I'm giving up all of my worldliness, giving up that my possessions no longer belong to me. They belong to God for me to use for His glory, for His benefit. That is the kingdom of heaven. Right? So some other proverbs that perhaps fit in the section of the disappointment and limitations of wealth, that treasures gained by wickedness do not profit, but righteousness delivers from death. A good name is to be chosen rather than great riches, and favor is better than silver and gold. Why might that be in Proverbs 22, verse 1? a good name is to be chosen rather than great riches? What does it mean to have a good name? A good reputation, right? This is more than just being from a good family, that my name it has a good name.
People's respect.
Can you buy a lot of respect?
If any one has a good name, people can rely on it.
Absolutely. How long does the respect last for you if all you're offering is just riches? It lasts as long as your riches does. They'll discard you quickly. Proverbs 27 verse 24, for riches do not last forever, and does a crown endure to all generations. Ecclesiastes 5 verse 10, he who loves money will not be satisfied with money, nor he who loves wealth with his income. We're going to talk about more on those lines here in just a moment, like Ecclesiastes 5 verse 10. All right, the next section that we have at the bottom of page 9 is the lack of profit in wealth gained dishonestly. So if I gain my wealth through dishonest means, what does that wealth mean for me and to me is what this next section of Proverbs are about. So the first one is Proverbs 13 verse 11. Wealth gained hastily will dwindle. Whoever gathers little by little will increase it. So it's not just gained hastily, like the ESV says. Other translations say wealth gained by fraud dwindles. That's like the New American Standard and the CSB. And so there are some pretty big diversity here. The Hebrew word means from vanity, breath, or fraud. It rendered hastily or dishonestly in the NIV, and by fraud and by vanity, King James Version. But this implied dishonesty is in the root word of this. What does it mean to gain wealth dishonestly? What are some ways that people can gain wealth dishonestly? Levi?
Steal.
Okay. You steal it. What's another way? Cheat, where you cheat someone. And there are multiple ways that you can cheat someone, right?
Yeah, I've been dishonest.
But through dishonesty, writing a contract in a way that is deceptive and makes it really hard for them to get out of the contract, but really easy if you want to get out of the contract or whatever. Or you put a bunch of loopholes that will be binding on them that they don't see, predatory type interest rates, whatever it might be. So those types of ways, yeah.
Exploiting others in general.
And exploitation in general, fraud.
Selling something that you know is inferior, but you're
Claim.
selling it as it's a A1 condition, and really in reality it's hidden on the problems that it has.
I don't remember if it was in this proverb, but several of the proverbs that were in here, some of the paraphrased versions of the Bible use get-rich-quick schemes as this. So any type of get-rich-quick scheme. So what does it mean that that type of wealth will dwindle? But whoever gathers little by little will increase it.
It wasn't that long ago that we all saw it in the news that Bernie Madoff, it was taking money from all different kinds of people and supposedly investing it so that they would make money, and all he was doing was taking their money and then paying off other people and making them think they were making money. But anyway, it was a Ponzi scheme.
Sure.
He ended up in prison, and a lot of people lost millions of dollars, and then he ended up dying. And so there's ramifications for that kind of thing.
Certainly. I forgot even who suggested it. I read the book The Millionaire Next Door, and it was talking about the average millionaire in the United States is not what you think he is. He's actually the guy who's just a teacher, or he's owns an appraisal company or something, and he lives in the same house that he's lived in for 30 years, the same little 2-bedroom, 1,400 square foot house and they drive old junker cars and that type of thing. Why are those people have more net worth than even the people who live in great big mansions?
I would think greed has something to do with it. It seems like greed kind of catches up with you. Those are people who are not trying to like constantly take more, they're just storing up.
Yeah. Well, how did that person, how does a teacher become a millionaire?
Smart investment.
Smart investments and saving. Like it says here, whoever gathers little by little, they are people who know how to save, they know how to invest, they also know how to be generous, but they're smart with their money.
You know, you read about it just all the time where the guy was a janitor at the high school and just retired after 50 years and he passes away and then all of a sudden they didn't think he had much of anything and he left $2.5 million to the school endowment.
Because he was still driving the same 1988 rusty Ford truck, He could afford whatever he wanted, but he was just smart.
That really take pride in being able to accumulate using their hard work and everything, not necessarily just to spend it, but just the act of accumulating it.
So, but what about this person? Even if we take it gains hastily, in the book that I was reading, people who inherit their money, like in a great big windfall, does all of their money disappear really quickly? Sometimes, but most of the time it's they start spending and then they start spending and then their bank account just kind of goes on a decrease, a slow decline. And that's what it says here. Wealth gained hastily will dwindle. It'll just slowly decrease over time. But what about this person who gathers little by little? It will slowly increase. If you don't know how to manage money and then all of a sudden you get lots of money, are you all of a sudden going to know how to handle more money?
It's a proven fact that a majority of the lottery winners usually end up bankrupt.
Within over several years.
And, just all the kind of bad things that come with it.
Because they don't know how to handle money, right? I meant to look up this psalm. Someone could look it up for me. It's a prayer where it actually prays, God, don't give me too much, or I may forget you, and don't give me too little, or I'll be tempted to steal. Like there's this prayer of don't give me too little and don't give me too much, because I know I can't handle too much money. I just want my allotment in life, and that's it. And it's a powerful prayer to say, God, don't give me more than I can handle. Don't give me too much.
Kind of like you're challenging God there.
Well, just give me my allotment. And what does Jesus say in the prayer when it comes to give me's? He says, give us this day our daily bread, not tomorrow's bread, not next week's bread. Give me today's bread, right? Give me what I need. And that's all I need. Because wealth gained hastily will dwindle, but whoever gathers little by little will increase it. This isn't just the method, dishonest first, but also the pace, right? If you gain wealth suddenly versus gaining wealth gradually, you will understand it better. You will respect it more. So it was interesting in that book that I was reading how many people will give an inheritance to their children, but they won't get to touch it until they're like 40 years old. Because at that point, they will already establish their standard of living and their lifestyle, and they'll have to make it on their own up until they get to a much later point in life. And that's when they know how to handle money. That's when they get the inheritance. And those people tend to do far, far better than someone who gets their windfall at 22.
Kind of like the prodigal son.
Absolutely. Very much like the prodigal son. So any type of get-rich-quick scheme, lottery, inheritance tends to disappear. Wealth that comes quickly will disappear slowly because you do not have the discipline to keep it. Wealth gained dishonestly is not valued. It's empty. But just this little by little, it teaches you discipline. Putting away a little bit of a certain small percentage of your income, when you start at 20 years old, just putting away just 6% of your income a year, you will have way over $1 million by the time you retire. Even in accounting for inflation, you will be set. And that doesn't mean be a miser. We're going to talk about the being stingy passages here in just a minute. But it's being smart and not just spending it as soon as you get it, right? Some other verses, Proverbs 28 verse 20, a faithful man will abound with blessing, but whoever hastens to be rich will not go unpunished. One who is faithful in a very little is also faithful in much. Those are words of Jesus in Luke chapter 16. All right, the next one, Proverbs 13 verse 7. One pretends to be rich, yet has nothing. Another pretends to be poor, yet has great riches or great wealth. Holman Christian Standard says, some fake it and act rich, but have nothing. Others act poor, but have great wealth. So, well, I'll turn it over to you. What is this? Is there any there's nothing in this proverb that says this way is better than that way, or this is good and that is bad, or both are bad. This is just purely observational, and then it leaves you up to make the conclusion.
I think there can be negatives to both, because you do have people who like to act. Not that there's anything wrong with acting more modestly and not bragging or showing off your wealth, but you think about, I'm blanking on their names and I feel bad about this, but the people who came in and were like, yeah, we're giving all our money, but they're hoarding something.
Yeah, Ananias and Sapphira, for sure. Why did they act like they were being more generous than they were? What did Peter say? Is you're not lying to men, you're lying to God.
You know, you think about.
Very good.
And I think, I know I've been in this situation before. I'm not proud of it, but like passing a homeless person on the street and telling them like, oh, I don't have anything with me, just to get out of the interaction. And it's not true, you know? And I think there are also like people who don't like to show how much they have, because if they do, they feel like they'll have to be more generous with it. But then you also hear about people who are like house poor, or, you know, they're buying these big extravagant things so that they can put up the front that they have a lot of money, but then they go bankrupt, or they can't take care of their kids, or, you know, I think there's negatives to both parts.
I believe so. I actually feel like this proverb is negative on both sides. Like, we're supposed to see both of these and say, it's not good to be either one of these people. It's not good to have nothing but pretend like you're rich. When you do that, like in the book that I was reading, I just finished it, but like parents who help their kids go pay for a down payment for a house that they can't afford, even if they pay a significant portion of that house, that puts them in a neighborhood where everyone else drives nice cars, where everyone else has nice furniture. And the pressure then is to also drive nice cars, to also have nice furniture. And it puts them behind to where it forces them into this, I have to pretend like I belong in the neighborhood and where I'm living. And it actually causes most of them to go into severe debt. Even though their really nice house was mostly paid for by a very generous parent, a lot of times those parents will have to still send them $5,000 every month just to keep up with the rest of their lifestyle, or to pay for their kids' education in the private school where all the kids in that neighborhood go. Those types of things. It's not good to pretend to be rich yet have nothing. What's the motivation? Is I want to look good in front of other people. I want other people to think that I have more than I really do. Like, we expect our attorney to come up driving a nice car, right? If you hire an attorney who's driving a clunker and he's wearing old clothes, then he must not be a very good attorney, right? Because we expect attorneys to be rich. Well, the good ones anyway, right? so you just feel like you have to keep up this appearance, and but pretending to be poor, I think that was an excellent example, Emily, of where you see people in need and say, well, I don't have the ability to help. Where, I mean, how much money do I spend on stuff that I really don't need? Either one. The true wealth in Proverbs is to have integrity. I didn't put any other verses on that one, but I think Ananias and Sapphira in Acts chapter 5 would be certainly appropriate to put here.
Spending is usually not a good thing.
Yes, absolutely.
What did he say?
Pretending is usually not a good thing.
Oh.
Either one.
Yeah.
Acting like you're not who you are is not good. Yes.
I've also seen situations where someone who is richer or better off will act like they didn't have those material blessings growing up to try to relate to other. You know, if they're in a group of people who did grow up poor, they'll be like, "Oh, well,
I'm just
I
like
did
you."
too." And then when they find out, you know, that that's not true, there is that rift in trust there, because it's like, well,
Certainly.
why were you trying to pretend to be something you weren't? We could have been friends without without that level of dishonesty.
All
I
right.
have Proverbs
yeah.
11:28.
Okay.
Anyone trusting in his riches will fall, but the righteous will flourish like foliage.
Yeah. We talked about that one last week. They'll flourish like a green tree. Yeah. It's a cool one. We talked about that one quite a bit last week. All right, Proverbs 15, verse 6. In the house of the righteous there is much treasure, but trouble befalls the income of the wicked. Why is there great wealth or treasure in the house of the righteous?
Kind of makes me think of not necessarily like materialistic wealth, like not necessarily money, but like the greater treasure that we have in our hope of heaven, and then those who are not righteous, they'll suffer for it later.
I believe that's absolutely true, and certainly can be an aspect of this, is that you have the integrity, you have eternal wealth, you have all the blessings from God. You can actually lay your head at night and not worry, who's the guy that you stabbed in the back? How are they going to try to stab me in the back? You know, that type of thing. But I think this very well could be talking about actual wealth. What do people who are righteous, how do they see their money? As a gift by God to be saved and to be shared and to be used for God's glory and to take care of their family and that type of thing, right? Not to spend on selfish pleasures, but to actually use. And the people who are righteous with their income, they are people who are going to save and are going to be wise with their money. And people who are wise with their money, again, these are Proverbs, this is a general truth. People who are wise with their money, over time will have more money than someone who is not wise with their money.
And if you are a person who's righteous and you are sharing your material blessings through giving or through taking a meal to someone or helping out someone who's in need, that will return to you if you ever find yourself in need. You know, if your
Certainly.
house burns down or if you're in a moment where you're struggling, people will return that in kind to you because you have been righteous in the way that you're handling that.
Generally true. Absolutely. Did you want to say something, Levi?
Well, everybody else covered it.
Oh, everybody else covered it. All right, sorry. But the wicked here, trouble befalls the income of the wicked. It's not just what they have in their bank account, but also trouble befalls their income, their revenue of what they bring in also is in danger. Why?
It could stop.
Because it could stop. If you're being dishonest at work,
You could get caught.
what is the likely thing going to be is when you get caught,
You'll be fired.
You'll be fired, and then you won't have an income.
Or you'd be charged and maybe arrested.
And then you have to pay it all back, right? So trouble befalls the income of the wicked. Or if you're someone who is incredibly selfish and lives above their means, always buying more stuff, more than what you can, and always taking out more loans and things, and paying off loans by taking out new loans and things, like what's going to happen there is you're going to put yourself in an enormous hole.
And a lot of wicked worldly habits are pretty costly.
Certainly.
When you think about addictions and gambling and things like that, it adds up quick.
Absolutely.
Many times it might contribute to health issues that can end up being very costly as well, and could cost your physical life.
Yeah, in here it's not just it's not going to be as profitable. No, it's active trouble. Like dishonest wealth is actively harmful to you and your family. That it is harmful. Playing lottery, sports betting, that type of thing, even if you're good at sports betting, it eventually catches up with you. And ultimately harmful. Okay. Judah?
I'm thinking of the house on the rock here.
Okay, yeah. The person who built his house on the rock versus built his house on the sand. That's a good analogy. All right, Levi?
Well, I think it's not, no money, no amount of money will make you happy.
Very true.
But
Money doesn't buy happiness.
Obeying God, though.
Absolutely.
Money does not give contentment.
All right, we're at Proverbs 16, verse 8. Better is a little with righteousness than great revenues with injustice. The New Living Translation, which is a paraphrase translation, says, better to have a little with godliness than to be rich and dishonest. So this is another better than proverb, and it forces a choice, and it announces what the winner is going to be. Would you rather have not much and have your integrity and have righteousness, or have a whole lot that you've gained through injustice? And here it declares the winner. This is the better life to have. What are some other observations that you see here? Some of the resources I was looking at says that this type of injustice isn't just an individual based, but actually a society based. If the entire government and system that you're living in is getting rich by oppressing people, that is not as nice a place to live as perhaps a place that doesn't have as much but is helping people. It doesn't say that having a little is better. It's the qualifiers that matter, right? It's nice to have more, but if you're having more through oppressing others, then it isn't really that great.
You look at the comparison.
Certainly.
Kind of between good and bad.
All right. Ooh, I have a lot of verses that I put on this one. Some other verses to consider in this. Psalm 37 is a cool psalm, but it has a parallel to this. Better is the little that the righteous has than the abundance of many wicked. Amos 5 is interesting. Like all of the prophets, they're saying, hey, Judah, please don't do that. The prophets are saying, this is the reason why you're being judged. This is the reason why you're being destroyed. In Amos 5, verse 11 and 12, he says, "Therefore, because you trample on the poor and exact a grain tax from him, you will never live in the houses of cut stone you have built. You will never drink the wine from the lush vineyards you have planted. For I know that your crimes are many and your sins are innumerable. They oppress the righteous, take a bribe, deprive the poor of justice at the city gates." The reason why they are going to be judged is because their leadership class is corrupt and they're taking advantage of the poor righteous people.
Makes me think of Jezebel. How they caused the death of a man so that they could get his vineyard, and then the dogs are licking her blood.
Yeah, absolutely.
Falls off the wall.
1 Timothy 6, verse 6, godliness with contentment is great gain. And Matthew 16, verse 26, when Jesus said, "What will it profit a man if he gains the whole world but forfeits his soul? Or what shall a man give in return for his soul?" That having a whole lot in this life, it's so short. It just disappears so quickly. But and it will mean absolutely nothing in the end. And the week where we have the world's first trillionaire, what all of that money in the world going to profit if he is lost for eternity? Even if he lives for another 100 years, it's only 100 years compared to all of eternity. You can have everything in the world, but if you lose your soul, what really is there a gain in that? Proverbs 21, verse 6, "The getting of treasures by a lying tongue is a fleeting vapor and a snare of death." When you think of a snare, what is a snare? It's a trap. It catches things, right? What does it mean that the gaining or getting of treasures by a lying tongue is a fleeting vapor and a snare of death? Here you have or two different metaphors, right? I always forget the difference between a simile and a metaphor, but that gaining treasure through deception is a fleeting vapor and the pursuit of death in New American Standard. So how can you use lying to get treasures? We brought up a few of them in just a little while ago, but any type of speech to gain financially through fraud, false advertising, deceptive contracts, flattery, to brown nose up to somebody for your own profit. These things are a fleeting vapor. The same words in Ecclesiastes, vanity, or the snare of death / pursuit of death. It is a lethal trap that you set for yourself. What is the difference here? What is a fleeting vapor? Yeah, just a puff of smoke, right?
Here for just a very short time.
Yeah, it's like that morning mist that you see out. If it's ever foggy in the morning, how quickly can that fog disappear as soon as the sun pops up? Just gone. Like it was never there. But then this snare of death, or this pursuit of death. How is this ironic? If you're trying to gain riches, what are you trying to set yourself up for? Stability, security. I don't want to have to worry about where my next meal is going to come from, so I'm going to get lots of money. But what are you actually getting for yourself then is you're setting yourself up for a trap. You're actually getting death. The opposite of what you were going for. You were trying to get security. What you gave yourself is insecurity.
Regardless of if they ever face consequences earthside, they will face their consequences eventually if you continue on with deceptive accumulation.
Absolutely. And this is where I put the story of Ananias and Sapphira here too, because that's how They lied not to gain wealth. They were actually being generous. They were actually giving, but they were lying in their giving to seem like they were more important than they should be. Bread gained by deceit is sweet to a man, but afterwards his mouth will be full of grapple. That in the moment, something stolen, it tastes extra good because you have that thrill, but long term, what's it going to get you? After you're caught, how are you going to feel about that piece of bread you ate last week? Anybody here remember what they ate last Wednesday? I'm sure if I thought about it real hard, I could. Anybody remember? I got hungry pretty quickly after that. Sometime the next day, I was hungry again. Like, something that you eat feels good in the moment. Stealing something might feel good in the moment, but the long-term consequences of lying will catch up to you. All right, now let's talk about being stingy. Proverbs 28, verse 22, a stingy man hastens after wealth and does not know that poverty will come upon him. New American Standard, the actual Hebrew word says an evil eye. The person with an evil eye hastens after wealth and does not know that poverty will come upon him. The CSB, a greedy person is in a hurry for wealth. He doesn't know that poverty will come to him. Here's another observation and irony part. Why is the stingy man so anxious about getting more money? Why is someone stingy to begin with? They don't want to share. What's the motivation? Most of the time, if I have money in my bank account and I don't want to give it to you, it's because I think that I might need it. And if I might need it, I don't want to give it to you because I might need it. Because if that worst case scenario happens, then I'm not going to have anything. And, how often does that actually come to pass, right?
Do you remember which verse it is that talks about casting your bread upon the waters?
It's in Malachi, I think, where God was like, test me, go ahead and...
No, well, he tells in Proverbs, talks about cast your bread on the waters. Meaning you don't know who it's going to be good to, but you know that when it's time, he will give it to you.
Yeah. So this stingy man, why is this ironic? Is he wants to have that security, he wants to have this future, but he doesn't know that poverty will come on him. What other observations do you have here? So the evil eye is the Hebrew idiom, which is why some translations go ahead and say that he is the miser, the greedy person. The eye represents the orientation of one's desires. What is this guy looking toward? Is physical possessions. That's what is his God. That's what he's so worried about losing, because that's where his trust is. Makes you think of the rich young ruler who Jesus told him, hey, I know what your problem is. You trust in riches too much. Go sell everything you've got and come follow me. And the guy went away sorrowful because he was rich. And that's where his trust was in his stuff. And he didn't follow Jesus. His anxiety-driven pursuit for financial stability will cause you to lose it.
And if you are thinking about non-material wealth, it's certainly going to cause you to be impoverished in blessings in other areas if you're only ever focused on making money.
Certainly. I mean, think of the what is it, the Christmas story of Ebenezer Scrooge and stuff. It's a classic story for a reason. When he was a miser, when he was greedy, how was his life? He was miserable, and he was always worried about losing it. But when he becomes generous, that's when he actually starts living and and he gains far more respect from that. All right, some additional proverbs for this topic that are not in the book. Treasures gained by wickedness do not profit. A false balance is an abomination to the Lord, but a just weight is his delight. And whoever presses the poor to increase his own wealth will only come to poverty. So, don't have false balances. What does that mean? You're working in the marketplace. Yeah, your scales are crooked, where you're charging more than what you should for. You're being dishonest. You're telling them, I'm only charging you $1 a pound, but your pound weighs less than other people's pounds, so you're actually charging more and being deceptive in that.
Were you the one that had the story that time about the guy that measured out cloth or something all for years at a little store?
Oh, okay.
Oh, okay. It was, I think it's less than that we had to matter, but it was, come to find out he had a yardstick that he measured all the time with, but it was only like 34 inches, not 36 inches. And anyway, that was the gist of it, was that he was using it all these years to measure. Somebody finally checked him, and it turned out he'd been cheating people for years and sticking it in his pocket. But just that people trusted him, and because it was his store and it was his yardstick, and surely the yardstick always is 36 inches. So.
All right. Well, I had my wife bring me a prop, but I guess we'll just have to use it next time. So we will start here at the middle of page 10. So we'll do page 10 and 11 next time, and then we'll figure out who's teaching after that, if Tommy wants to do his after that, or if we want to wait another time. So we will start right here. The destructiveness of the love of money. I'll mark that down right there so I can just know exactly where we are. Boom. All right. All right. Well, thanks everybody. We'll turn it back over to Mark.
It's free, Ken. Let's all stand. We sing 331. 331. Kneel at the cross, Christ will meet you there. He intercedes for you. Lift up your voice, leave with him your care, and begin life anew. Kneel at the cross, leave every care. Kneel at the cross, Jesus will meet you there. Kneel at the cross, there is room for all who would his glory share. Bliss there awaits, hearken there befall those who are anchored there. Kneel at the cross, leave every care. Kneel at the cross, Jesus will meet you there. Kneel at the cross, give your idols up, look unto realms above. Turn not again to a sparkling cup, trust always in his love. Kneel at the cross, leave every care. Kneel at the cross.